All right. Town of Monroe, Board of Finance, regular meeting Thursday, February 16th, 6 p.m. Please note this meeting will be recorded and made available on town's website pursuant to state law. If you are attending remotely, please remember to mute your microphone unless you are speaking. Anyone participating remotely should state their name and record for the file. If applicable, at the outside of each occasion that such person is speaking. All votes taken during which any member of this body is participating remotely shall be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. That feature will not be utilized or considered during this meeting. All right, so we've got myself, Chairman Michael Manjos, Vice Chairman Rebecca O'Donnell is not here tonight. Greg Benno.
I'm here, present.
Hey, Greg. Mary Hall.
Present.
Steve Kirsch.
Present.
Catherine Stauffer.
Present.
And we've got First Selectman Ken Kellogg.
I'm here.
Got Deputy Finance Director Ron Bonowski.
Here.
Deputy Finance Director Heidi Mead.
Here.
Treasurer Frank Duchess.
Here.
Tax Collector Deb Hahn.
Here.
Superintendent Joe Cobbs.
Here.
Is that everybody?
You got DPW Director Nowacki is here too.
Mr. Nowak, you didn't see you hiding there.
Hello.
All right. First order of business, approval of the meeting minutes and voting record for January 26th.
Steve Kirsch, I move to accept the meeting minutes and voting record for January 26, 2023.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any questions, discussions, comments? Hearing none. Any opposition? Opposed? Hearing none, we pass unanimously. First Selectman, it's up to you.
Thank you, sir. So there's a bunch of documents in the package from me, all in regards to the proposed bonding authorizations for this evening. So there's a presentation in there which I can just kind of run through real quick. Basically, the background is pretty, standard stuff. We have a capital budget that was passed in the referendum last year in May of 2022 for the current fiscal year. And we have most of those projects that are on the list are ready to move forward. As I'm sure you all know, the charter requires recommendation from my office, town council, and board of finance, and then approval at a town meeting. You've got letters in the file indicating my recommendations. The town council passed all three of these resolutions at their meeting this past Monday night. So contingent upon your approval this evening, the town council has called a town meeting for Monday the 27th for the town meeting to vote on all of them. The next slide is one that we just, we always present every time we do this. And my thanks to Ron for always pulling this stuff together, the data, really just to indicate that, our outstanding general obligation bonds are in very healthy shape. We continue to have a declining balance, pretty significant declining balance if you go back to the last 5 years. And even with the $3.5 million of projected projects that would be bonded in 2024 that we're talking about tonight, we have roll-offs of $5 million this year and a little bit more than $5 million next year, and we still have plenty of capacity and very healthy outstanding debt. The three projects are pretty things that similar to categories we've seen before. One is for road construction, just our $1 million in bonding authorization for our ongoing road construction and reconstruction project, and then of course $20,000 extra there for bond issuance costs. Fire safety equipment for Monroe Fire. There was in the process, they had a request for a mini pumper that was approved. This is a smaller piece of apparatus that they would like to put in service primarily because there's no special license required, and it would allow They're younger members aged 18 to 20 that are frequently in the station. They're doing more station coverage at Monroe Fire. And it's a lot of younger members that are there. It will allow them to respond immediately and get water on a fire faster. In the Stevenson Fire Department, they're proposing taking one vehicle out of service permanently and converting the existing engine 302 into a dual engine rescue purpose. Those costs there are the kind of the net costs after trade-in of the other vehicle. And last but not least, self-contained breathing apparatus to meet NFPA standards for the Monroe Fire Department. We've done the other two departments last couple of years. This is for them. So those three projects plus the bond issuance costs get you the 1.195 million. And last is a collection of trucks and equipment for Public Works and Parks and Rec. They're standard 10-wheel and 6-wheel dump trucks. This proposes a new truck for a new 10-wheel truck. For the 6-wheel truck, a cost savings this year, we're proposing a body replacement. That's what was in the capital budget, a body replacement as opposed to an entire truck. So you see there's significant cost savings there. Keep the vehicle on longer. Other vehicles for DPW, a wood chipper, and a bunch of smaller trucks, F550s, F150, one of them that comes with a plow and a spreader. And then for our parks, the Toro mower that is in the capital budget. With the bond issuance costs, that gets us to the $745,000. So with that, I know you have these on later on your agenda. I did draft some resolutions for you that are also in my cover memo to you that's also in the packet. I ask that you consider there's the full resolutions that would go before the town meeting and then proposed resolutions for this board to recommend those resolutions for a town meeting. And I would certainly also encourage you to waive the reading of those minutes if you so choose. Or you can read them.
I know Steve enjoys reading.
I'll look at Steve in that regard.
Exactly. I know Steve enjoys reading, but I'm sure we're going to waive.
Yeah, there you go. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Hang on 1 second. I just lost my.
Up to Joe, I believe.
Yes, Jumping Joe.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Not really nothing substantively different from the last time we were here a few weeks ago. The only thing I'll just mention is I think at the last meeting I've been talking about preschool numbers and that we were going to be hiring an additional preschool teacher, and we just did that the other day. So that person will go to the board for approval on Tuesday night. But besides that, status quo.
All right. We had fire department quarterly reports in the packet.
Yeah, so Mike, 2 of the 3 fire departments were in there. I think we were still waiting for the third quarter.
Okay.
Yeah. We're always a little bit late.
Yeah, I understand.
That's okay.
All right.
So we'll make sure that's included in your next.
The next one. Appreciate that. Next up is public participation. Anybody in the room? Not seeing anybody. Anybody on the call? Not hearing anybody. Let's move on to new business. All right, Steve, you want to take us out?
Okie dokie. We're good. New business item 5A, bonding for roads phase 9. The following communication was received from the first selectman regarding the resolution authorizing an appropriation and bond authorization of $1,020,000 for town road construction and reconstruction phase 9 project. February 9, 2023, to the Town Council, Board of Finance, and legal voters of the town of Monroe. Pursuant to Chapter 9 of the Charter, I recommend the adoption of the bond resolution attached hereto and entitled, quote, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1,020,000 for a road construction and reconstruction Phase 9 project and authorizing the issuance of the town's general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,020,000 to finance the appropriation. Sincerely, Kenneth M. Kellogg, First Selectman. I will now introduce and read the following resolution. Resolved that the resolution entitled, quote, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1,020,000 for road construction and reconstruction Phase 9 project and authorizing the issuance of the town's general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,020,000 to finance the appropriation, unquote, a copy of which is available at this meeting and was included in the packet of meeting materials, is hereby approved and recommended for adoption by the town. I move to waive the reading of the entitled resolution and that its full text be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting.
I'll second that.
Terrific.
Any discussion?
The words out of my mouth.
Mary's got a question.
You're muted, Mary. So this is.
Sorry, guys, I just
Go ahead,
have one
Mary.
question. It's just a clarification. What's Phase 9?
We've simply, as these have been going on over the years, bond council has just enumerated them accordingly. So it's just the 9th resolution of its kind for road construction and reconstruction.
So does it explicitly state like which roads will be worked?
No,
No, this is just a bonding authorization to allow,
simply funding.
and this motion is just to waive the reading of the whole thing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions here, Mike. You want to call the question?
Yes, sorry about that. I was muted too.
To waive the reading?
Weeding, exactly. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are waived. Thank you.
Okay. I move that said resolution be adopted as introduced.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hearing none, any opposed? We pass unanimously. Thank you all. All right, Steve, we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, I got this one. I've got to come prepared one way or another. New business, item 5B, fire apparatus and safety equipment. The following communication was received from the First Selectman regarding the resolution authorizing an appropriation and bond authorization of $1,195,000 for the purchase of fire apparatus and safety equipment. February 9th, 2023, to the Town Council, Board of Finance, and legal voters of the town of Monroe. Pursuant to Chapter 9 of the Charter, I recommend the adoption of the bond resolution attached hereto and entitled, quote, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1,195,000 for the purchase of fire apparatus and safety equipment and authorizing the issuance of the town's general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,195,000 to finance the appropriation, unquote. Sincerely, Kenneth M. Kellogg, First Selectman. I will now introduce and read the following resolution. Resolved that the resolution entitled, quote, resolution authorizing an appropriation of $1,195,000 for the purchase of fire apparatus and safety equipment and authorizing the issuance of the town's general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,195,000 to finance the obligation, unquote, a copy of which is available at this meeting and was included in the packet of meeting materials, is hereby approved and recommended for adoption by the town. I move to waive the reading of the entitled resolution and that its full text be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, any opposed? Hearing none, we are approved unanimously.
I move that said resolution be adopted as introduced.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? I think Ken gave us the explanation. Hearing none, any opposed? Hearing none, we pass unanimously.
New business
All right.
item 5C, bonding for trucks and equipment. The following communication was received from the first selectman regarding the resolution authorizing an appropriation and bond authorization of $745,000 for the purchase of trucks and equipment. February 9, 2023, to the Town Council, Board of Finance, and legal voters of the Town of Monroe. Pursuant to Chapter 9 of the Charter, I recommend the adoption of the bond resolution attached hereto and entitled, quote, "Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $745,000 for the purchase of trucks and equipment for the Departments of Public Works and Parks and Recreation, and authorizing the issuance of the town's general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $745,000 to finance the appropriation. Sincerely, Kenneth M. Kellogg, First Selectman." I will now introduce and read the following resolution. Resolved that the resolution entitled, quote, "Resolution authorizing an appropriation of $745,000 for the purchase of trucks and equipment for the Departments of Public Works and Parks and Recreation, and authorizing the issuance of the town's general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $745,000 to finance the appropriation," unquote, a copy of which is available at this meeting and was included in the packet of meeting materials, is hereby approved and recommended for adoption by the town. I move to waive the reading of the entitled resolution and that its full text be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion? Any opposed? Hearing none, we pass unanimously.
I move that said resolution be adopted as introduced.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, any opposed? Hearing none, we pass unanimously. Thank you all. Well done. Thank you, Steve, very much for the good work as usual. Next, we'll jump into the 2023 financial reports, general fund, budget report. Ron, anything you want to call out here for us?
Nothing's really changed a whole lot at this, over since the last time we met 3 weeks ago. I will certainly entertain any questions on the town or board, A or B, if anyone has any specific questions.
Anybody got anything for Ron?
Mary's got her hand up.
Mary's got her hand up.
Hey, Mayor.
Guys, Ron, just a quick question between you, Joe, and Ken. What is your, do you expect the town and the Board of Education to meet, exceed, or, and when I say exceed, overspend or underspend the budget?
So
We can't overspend.
We can't
yeah,
overspend.
we
the budget.
can't overspend the budget. Now, the big variable on the Board of Education side is the special education, right? Because we also have legal obligations to educate the children. So having said that, we have the reserve that, at this point, it doesn't look like we're going to need to tap into it, but it's, as the year winds down, we'll keep a good hard look at that.
Okay, so here's my disconnect. When I looked at what was presented to the town council on the percentage of the projection of what would be in the unfunded balance that's sitting at like 25% right now, it would drop to 20.2. And that 20.2 would indicate to me that either the fund account
item.
has
So,
been used
yeah.
or
Are
or
you
the
speaking?
expenditures are down? Could
Were
you
you
share
referring-
with me the numerator and the denominator
Were
for
you
that
referring,
calculation?
were you referring to my presentation and the unassigned fund balance slide?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
Ken.
so it would be projected at the end of this fiscal year to be at the $20 million number of what Ron projected. The reason why you're seeing the decrease is because I proposed in the fiscal year 24 budget to apply some of that fund balance. So it's projecting that it's utilized. Now, it may or may not be.
Yeah, so also there's a slight dip in the current fiscal year because we do have fund balance
That's
budgeted.
Correct.
So assuming we hit our appropriation this year, we still will use fund balance, Mary. Because in the fiscal year 23 budget, there was about $810,000.
Yeah, I think it was
appropriated,
for a collect, it was for, I think, the last Board of Ed payment to Bridgeport, right? That was one thing I think there was a couple of
What we did to create the build, I don't recall.
that, and there might have been contingency or something like that
Yes.
too.
Yes.
We funded-
But that's why it goes down at the end of this fiscal year.
Well, it goes down.
Slightly, a little, no, just a little.
Right.
Well, that's my, okay, so the 22.5, Ken, that you showed for fiscal year 22, I totally
That's
get
for
that
22.
because that was
Yep.
the fund balance of 20.3 over the 90.4 that was actually spent, okay, on expenditures. And I get the proposed for 2024 going to a budget of 99.8 and leaving the fund balance at 16.6%, which would be 16.7. But I've got like a disconnect of about $750,000 going from 22 down to 23. And I know I've used the $3 million.
That's this year.
That's this year.
That's
And
this
that's in
year's,
the current year. We have budgeted in the budget, the current year budget, we have fund balance appropriated to use to balance the budget.
So
Of
if we,
810,000?
Yes,
That's the
Yeah, so-
810,000.
that's right. So
Okay.
if we execute the budget that was approved last May, then we're gonna use some fund balance and bring us down to that level is what Ron is saying.
Okay. And we're
I said it.
anticipating that we are going to use that 810,000.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think some of that was.
There's no way to know yet.
Contingency,
Okay.
and if we don't dip into the full contingency, we may not. but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
that's
we have to
a
go. It's an end of year question, really.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm like jumping, ahead onto the revenue side, but we over collected on revenue last year, and that probably has not been projected in that 20.2%. Is that correct?
The over collection of revenue would be in the end of the year 22 number, yes.
But it's probably not in this.
It's
number right
probably
here.
not in the 20.2%, Ron, correct? As of now, because you don't
As of
know.
20
In
Because
the current fiscal year?
Yeah,
In the-
right here, that's right. That's why it's going down because
Our surplus last year,
no surplus, if you run a surplus.
Oh,
this
if we run a surplus this year, no, yeah,
It's not in.
no,
That's right.
no,
Correct.
Correct.
so
Yes.
you don't have a revenue surplus yet put into this. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah, the
thank
20
you.
Yeah, the current fiscal year projection is assuming we match the budget.
Right.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. And Mike, just for clarification, as we get closer to setting, when we send the final budget into the town council for to go to referendum, we'll have a better look at what that fund balance is projected to be, because it'll be another 2 months out.
Yeah, but we really won't have it.
Not really, not for the current.
We will not, no. You won't know that until after everything's closed for the year.
Okay.
And audited. I mean. you'll have-
Right, exactly. I
Well,
mean, it'll
you'll
be the
have-
fall
you'll have
before you have the
a pretty
number.
good idea, but
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah,
Is the audit
And-
closed for 22?
it's in the process.
Okay.
And I just wanted to clarify, especially because we've got our good reporter from Voices on here. The collection that was the prior year was just a higher collection than budgeted. It was, we did not over collect taxes.
Oh, I know.
It was just a
I
higher
may have said
collection
that
than,
incorrectly.
we did better than four, we did
We
better than
collected
forecast.
more than what we had budgeted. I got it.
Correct, yes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
All right. Anything in the funds activity statement, Ron?
No, I mean, nothing, no major changes over the past 3 weeks.
Perfect. All right. Tax collector.
Please
Hello,
sit it out
everybody.
of the, oh. I thought you were going to treasurer. I was gonna say, sit down.
No,
Okay,
tax collector's ahead. No
That's
cheating
right,
ahead.
that's right. I'm jumping ahead.
all right.
Stay on.
The, we ended up the end of January, a little ahead of schedule due to increase of real estate. Our motor vehicle and mostly our motor vehicle is lagging. Reminder notices went out this week, so we're hoping that will boost everything up. As I said in the past, we've had a lot of return checks this month, which was very unprecedented over other years. In fact, we have had the most bounce checks in this month than we've had in the last 5 years. So what we've collected in what bounce checks that came in the last few weeks have been more than what we have collected in the last 5 years. And so, I mean, it's not that we won't collect it. I'm just saying that we just had a lot of return checks this month of insufficient funds and problems and, people not having the money. But we are doing good with our collections. Our collections actually is over what we based last year. And so we are doing good with the collections. And I believe last month, it was Mary asked, and I told her I'd get back to her on the percentages of what we sent to collections last year and what the collection agency collected over the percentage of what we sent. On personal property, what we sent to the collection agency, they collected 55% of what I sent last April. And on motor vehicle, they collected 31% of what I sent. And on motor vehicle supplemental, they collected 30% of what I sent them last April. So, and I know there's a lot of accounts in court right now. So people who are, won't pay or refuse to pay or whatever, then after they made a few attempts, then we sent it to court. I know I've been to court at least once, and I have 2 more court dates set to go to small claims to try to collect our money. Overall, I think we're doing good at this time. We'll have a better thing at the end of February after we send the reminder notices out. But overall, I think we're going to be in good shape for this year.
So Deb, this is Steve. If going back to your bounce checks, were those for motor vehicles or
Motor vehicle and real estate. The total that I did in one day was $44,000 worth of bounce checks.
Wow.
Wow, because if those are motor vehicles, that's a lot of.
No, it
Because
was a combination of both real estate and motor vehicles. And like I said, what I've been hearing from the taxpayers is, it's just hard times right now because, electric bills and the gas and everything else. So, they're doing what they can, but I don't see that the town's going to be in any position that we are not going to make budget. So I just want to give you the heads up, but it might be something to look at going forward. We'll see where our numbers are when it gets closer.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we can go to the treasurer.
Now I can say he's hitting out of the park.
As Ken mentioned, our interest income continues to benefit from a rising STIP rate. What's been a little different this month than previous months is it's continued an upward trend, but we actually took a blip down shortly after the last Fed meeting. It dropped to 4.43%. We're back up to 4.63%. So it's positive. Looking at other options, the T-bills continue to look positive. The 6-month T-bill as of today was at 5%. But as long as we see a continuing upward trend in the stiff rate locking into a T-bill at this time, I would say we would stay away from that. There's still a degree of uncertainty in terms of where we're going with interest rates. If you look at the last Fed meeting, they did a 25 basis point increase. Powell was a little bit more, I won't say dovish, but a little bit more neutral. A couple days after that, he addressed the DC Economic Club, and he actually talked about there's starting to show hints of disinflation. So all of a sudden, everybody started thinking, okay, we're probably not going to get another interest rate hike. Maybe it'll just be a small one. But subsequent to that, we had the CPI come in higher than expected. We had the PPI come in higher than expected, and the jobs are kicking it through the roof. So now people are talking about, are we going to get a 25 or a 50 basis point increase? So the only thing I would say is until the March meeting, because there's no February Fed meeting, until we see what direction they're going, those interest rates are still in flux. And leading into that in preparation for the fiscal 24 budget, Ken asked me to provide a projection. And what I did was a pretty simplistic model, taking a look at what our monthly fund balance was historically, and then building a couple of interest rate scenarios there. One where we kind of stayed flat from where we were at the time. One where we looked at an increase to the beginning of next fiscal year and then starting at a decline, and one looking at a decline and then continuing decline during the year. In each of those cases, there's still a lot of unknowns. So my recommendation was, at this point, until we know more, let's take the more conservative view. And I think that's what Ken built into his budget plan at this point.
I did, based on Frank's recommendation and the models that he put forward. I think it was a solid recommendation. It's a conservative number, and but it certainly allows the board, once you guys have the budget, to look at it, as you'll have more information by then in April. And if you want to tweak it, you certainly can.
What was the number? What kind of interest rate were you using?
Well, in the one in the first scenario, it stayed at 4.5%, which is where it was at that time. Okay. In the other scenario, I built it up to slightly increase to 5% at the start of the next fiscal year, and then a gradual decline from there. And one where it showed a decline, because we didn't know where it was going, down to 4%, starting at 4%, and then so they were the three scenarios that we looked at. So what Ken built in was $1 million into next year, but again, take a closer look at it as we get down the road.
And I think your lowest projection there was 1.2.
1.2, so correct.
Right.
Put a conservative one in for now.
That's really good.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Again, the budget model we're going to work on.
Yeah, so then again, to reiterate what I said 3 weeks ago, the plan is to have that for you guys when you're reviewing the budget.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right. And Ken, just a little sidebar. Did we confirm the joint meeting date?
I'm sorry, the what date?
Joint meeting?
Yes.
The 28th?
Steve, I think I saw something. Did you have that, Steve? Yeah, you did have that. I do have. Yes, thank you. I left it in my office. So February 28th, the council would like to call a special meeting where they would do their public hearing at 7 o'clock, but they would like to have the Board of Finance join them at 6:30 for the traditional joint discussion.
Perfect.
Prior to you guys kick it off. So if there's no objections, I will get back to Jonathan and have that noticed. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's perfect
Yeah.
for me.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
What's up?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, just looking at the calendar.
All right, great.
February 28th at 6:30. And then there is a public hearing that follows that joint meeting, so if
Yes.
anybody wants to participate, that should also be reflected in our minutes. At 7 o'clock on the 28th, the public hearing.
Okay.
Isn't that public hearing, isn't that 6 PM
No.
on the
Two-
27th?
No, I'm
It's a different meeting.
different meeting. Monday, the 27th is the regular town council meeting.
There is a town meeting at 6 o'clock
Correct.
prior to the regular town council meeting. That is a town meeting to vote on the bonding authorizations.
Which, you might.
The day after, the 28th, is when the town council would like to have their special meeting to include Board of Finance, followed by their public hearing on the budget, the fiscal year 24 budget.
If you do an update, you want to put that out? We want to put the bonding meeting on this when you.
I actually don't, because that is a fiscal year 24 budget schedule, so I don't want to
Okay.
confuse people, because
Right.
the bonding is this fiscal year and it just
Okay,
gets,
all right.
you know,
All right.
Mike, this is Mary. I'm not going to be able to attend that meeting on the 28th. I'm having some surgery.
No problem. Hope everything's okay. All right.
I plan on being there. There'll be a login if I can't get there, right? Remote or something.
The
So-
town council meeting is hybrid, yes.
Okay, all right. I plan to be there, but just in case.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be there as well in person, which will be.
Ooh.
Well, that's 75% right now. There's a slight chance I might go to Hong Kong, but right now it looks like I'm going to be in Monroe. So I'll either be in Monroe or Hong Kong.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as we're going around the
choices.
table, I'll be there in person.
All right, Steve. Awesome. All right.
Okay.
Anything else? I think we're clear. Obviously, the road thing we did, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that when the budget comes to us. So,
I think there's a roads update, Mike.
is there a roads update? All right,
Give you a brief update. Yeah, I mean.
please.
BHB is completed their road analysis, boots on the ground. They're doing quality
Beautiful.
control checks at this point. Projected the end of the month. We should get a preliminary meeting set up with them and review the data and work through some budget models and progress from there. We'll be able to, from that meeting, have further information as to when we can talk about a meeting, and such like that.
Chris, what do you, when I forgot the term you just used, what are they doing now that they've got the numbers?
They're just proving the data
They just,
because they have multiple different engineers going out. So they're going through that to make sure that all the data was collected, all the roads were collected, and it's put into a clean format and just proving it. It's quality control.
yeah, that, when you said quality control, you did. Okay.
So for example, like as Chris had explained, like, if there was a road that dramatically changed PCI, but there's no real reason for that, well, is it a data issue or an inspection issue, or just make sure there's no anomaly, right?
And this is where they go and make sure they've actually got all the right roads.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Like they missed one last time, I know.
As simple as that statement is, but yes, we want to, they're proving their data before they provide us anything.
Last question. So they haven't sent you any numbers for any of the roads yet?
No, they just
Okay.
recently finished
Okay.
that, correct?
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, guys. You want to make the motion? I can get back to bed.
Steve Kirsch motion to adjourn.
I'll
Love you.
second.
Thanks all.